The rain came down in sheets, hammering the tin roof of Loretta Field's small clapboard house in Jasper, Georgia. It was 11:15 p.m., the 15th of April, 2025, and the kitchen flickered under a dying fluorescent bulb, casting jagged shadows across the linoleum floor. Loretta, 62, sat hunched at the table, her arthritic hands clutching a faded photograph. It was a Polaroid from 1995, showing 18 black kindergartners grinning in front of a yellow school bus, their juice-stained teeth gleaming, one girl mid-sneeze, another tossing bunny ears behind a boy's head. That boy was Malik, her Malik, 5 years old, clutching his Spider-Man backpack like it held the world's secrets. 30 years ago, that bus never made it to the farm museum 30 miles away. No wreckage, no bodies, no answers, just 18 kids, a teacher, and a driver, swallowed by the Georgia backroads. The cops called it a tragic mix-up, blamed bad paperwork, and told Loretta to grieve and move on. She didn't. She couldn't. That photo was her lifeline, her relic, tucked under her pillow every night, its edges worn soft from her fingers tracing Malik's smile. Tonight, though, something felt wrong. The air was thick, suffocating, like the storm was pressing the house down into the earth. Loretta's eyes darted to the window, where rain clawed at the glass. Then it came a sharp, frantic knock 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 at the front door. Her heart lurched. Nobody knocked at this hour, not in Jasper, not on a night like this. She shuffled to the door, her slippers scuffing the floor, and cracked it open, peering into the dark. Rain stung her face, but the porch was empty. No car, no footsteps, just the howl of wind. She started to close the door when her foot brushed something, a soggy manila envelope. No address, no name. Her stomach twisted. She snatched it up, slammed the door, and bolted it, her hands trembling as she tore the envelope open. Inside was another copy of the Polaroid, but different. The kids were the same. Malik's gap-toothed grin, the bunny ears, the sneezing girl, but in the bus's side window, there was something new. A child's hand, small and smudged, pressed against the glass, fingers splayed like a desperate plea. And behind it, a man's face, pale as bone, eyes white and unblinking, staring straight at the camera. Loretta's breath caught. She dropped the envelope, and the photo fluttered to the floor, landing face down. Scrawled across the back in red ink, jagged and bleeding in the damp. "They're still singing." Loretta screamed, a raw, shattered sound that echoed through the empty house. She stumbled back, knocking over a chair, her hands clawing at her chest. The fluorescent bulb flickered once, twice, then held steady, bathing the kitchen in sickly light. She stared at the photo, her mind racing. That face wasn't in her copy, the one she'd memorized for 3 decades. Who was he? And that hand, God, that hand, could it be Malik's? She grabbed her phone, hand shaking so bad she nearly dropped it, and dialed Rhonda Avery, her old friend, now a detective with the FBI's Atlanta field office. It rang 4 times before Rhonda's groggy voice answered. "Loretta? It's damn near midnight. You okay? Rhonda, you gotta come over, now." Loretta's voice cracked, sharp and urgent. "I got something. A picture. It's them, Rhonda. The kids. And there's a man in it, some white-eyed bastard I never seen before." A pause, then a sigh. "Loretta, honey, I know today's the anniversary. You sure you ain't just?" "Don't you dare," Loretta snapped, her voice like a whip. "This ain't grief talking. Someone left this at my door, in the damn rain. It's got Malik's hand in it, Rhonda. His hand, and some creep's face, grinning like he knows I'm looking." Rhonda went quiet, then said, "All right, I'm 30 minutes out. Don't touch nothing else, you hear? And lock your doors." "They're locked," Loretta said, her eyes flicking to the deadbolt. "Hurry." She hung up and sank into a chair, the photo staring up at her from the floor like a cursed thing. Her mind clawed back to the 15th of April, 1995, a day so clear it hurt to remember. The sky was cloudless, birds chirping over the school bell as kids scrambled toward the bus, tripping over untied laces and sticky lunch pails. Malik, her baby, had begged to go on the field trip, his first, to a plantation-turned-museum 2 towns over. Loretta had signed the permission slip, her gut churning, but she didn't want to be the mom who caged him. The teacher, Miss Ellis, had snapped that photo right before they boarded, laughing about saving it for the yearbook. Malik waved from the window, his little hand smudged with blue marker. Loretta waved back, smiling, unaware it'd be the last time she saw him. By 3 p.m., the school called, saying the bus was late. By 5 o'clock, cops were involved. By midnight, helicopters buzzed the county, and the official line was delivered like a death sentence. The bus, the kids, the teacher, the driver gone. No crash, no witnesses, no nothing. Just vanished, like the road itself had swallowed them whole. Loretta had asked questions, demanded answers. Who was the driver? Where was the roster? Why no escort vehicle? The cops gave her a grief pamphlet and a pat on the shoulder, told her to be strong for the community. But she knew better. A yellow school bus didn't just disappear in broad daylight unless someone wanted it to. She'd kept that photo, made copies, one in her Bible, one in her wallet, one taped to the fridge. She'd stared at it daily, counting faces, memorizing smiles, willing it to give her something, anything. For 30 years, it hadn't. Until tonight. Loretta forced herself to pick up the new photo, her fingers trembling. She held it to the light, squinting at the man's face. His eyes were wrong, too white, like they'd been scratched out and redrawn. The child's hand was small, delicate, and there, on the ring finger, a tiny glint of silver band with a star charm, the one she'd given Malik for his 5th birthday. Her knees buckled. She grabbed the table to steady herself, her breath hitching. "Malik," she whispered, tears burning her eyes. "Baby, where are you?" She dug through a drawer, pulling out a spiral notebook, its pages yellowed and crammed with notes from 1995. She'd written down everything back then, every scrap the cops ignored. The driver's name, listed as John Doe in the report, no ID, no history. A witness at a gas station on Highway 16 who swore they saw a white pickup truck tailing the bus. And Clara Sims, a teacher's aide who quit the day after the disappearance, claiming family issues. Loretta had begged the police to follow up. They didn't. Now, staring at the photo, she wondered if Clara knew something. Or if that wide-eyed man was the driver, the one nobody could trace. Her mind spun, grasping at threads. She grabbed her phone again, this time calling Noah Ager, a former cop-turned-private investigator who'd solved a cold case in Macon a few years back. She'd met him at a vigil for missing kids, his card still tucked in her wallet. Noah picked up on the second ring, his voice rough but alert. "Loretta? What's going on? I need you here, Noah." "Tonight," she said, her words tumbling out. "Someone's messing with me. They left a photo of the kids, from '95, but it's got a man in it, some pale-faced creep, and Malik's hand. Noah, his hand. I ain't crazy, I swear." "Slow down," Noah said, calm but firm. "You still in Jasper?" "I'm an hour out, maybe less if I floor it." "You called the cops?" "Rhonda's coming," Loretta said. "But I don't trust nobody else. You know how they did me back then. Noah, this is real. Someone knows where my boy is." "All right, I'm on my way," he said. "Don't open that door for anyone but me or Rhonda." "And Loretta? Stay sharp. If this is what you think, it ain't safe." She hung up, her pulse pounding in her ears. The rain outside roared louder, like it was trying to drown the house. She paced, clutching the photo, her eyes darting to the windows. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a footstep, every gust of wind like a whisper. She tried to focus, flipping through her notebook, rereading her old notes. One entry jumped out, the 16th of April, 1995 gas station clerk on HWY 16 said white pickup had a logo, maybe a tree. Cops said it was nothing. A tree. She froze, her mind flashing to Mayflower Transit Services, the company that supplied the bus. Their logo was a green pine, wasn't it? She'd seen it on paperwork, but the company folded in '97, records gone, or so the school said. Her hand shook as she grabbed her phone, pulling up an old article she'd bookmarked. Mayflower Transit, Dissolved 1997, linked to ex-prison guard Vernon Hatch. Vernon Hatch. The name sent a chill down her spine. She'd never met him, but his name had popped up once, in a police report she'd begged to see. A driver, maybe, or a contractor, but the cops brushed it off, said he was long gone. Now, staring at the photo, she wondered if that wide-eyed face was his. Headlights flashed through the window, snapping her back. Rhonda's black SUV pulled into the driveway, tires crunching gravel. Loretta unlocked the door, letting Rhonda in, her friend's face a mix of worry and exhaustion. "All right, let's see it," Rhonda said, shaking rain from her jacket. Loretta handed her the photo, pointing at the window. "There. That's him. And that hand, it's Malik's. Look at the ring." Rhonda studied it under the kitchen light, her brow furrowing. "Loretta, this could be a fake. Someone messing with you, knowing today's the day. People are sick like that." "It ain't fake," Loretta snapped, her voice breaking. "That ring's real, Rhonda. I gave it to him, and that face, he's laughing at me, like he knows I'm close." Rhonda sighed, setting the photo down. "Okay, I'll take it to the lab, check for prints, run it through facial recognition. But Loretta, you gotta prepare for." "Don't say it," Loretta cut her off, eyes blazing. "Don't you dare tell me he's gone." "He's out there, Rhonda. I feel it." Before Rhonda could answer, another set of headlights lit up the driveway. Noah's beat-up Ford Ranger pulled in, and he stepped out, a tall man in his 50s, graying at the temples, carrying a metal case. He nodded at Rhonda, then turned to Loretta. "Show me," he said, "no nonsense." Loretta handed him the photo and envelope, explaining the knock, the rain, the red ink. Noah examined it, his jaw tightening. "This ain't a prank," he said. "Someone went to a lot of trouble. That ink's fresh, and this paper's old, like it's been stored somewhere." He opened his case, pulling out a portable scanner and a laptop. "Let's blow this up, see what we're dealing with." They crowded around the screen as the scanner hummed, the image filling the display. The man's face was clearer now, his features sharp, almost too sharp, like a mask. His eyes were unnerving, white and hollow, but his mouth curled in a faint, mocking smile. The child's hand was unmistakable, the star charm ring glinting faintly. "That's Malik's," Loretta whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'd know it anywhere." Noah zoomed in on the man's face, running it through a facial recognition program. "If this is Vernon Hatch, we'll know in a minute. I got access to old DMV records, prison files, anything that's still floating out there." Rhonda crossed her arms, skeptical. "You think this guy's been hiding for 30 years, then decides to taunt her with a photo? Why now?" "Because he knows I never stopped," Loretta said, her voice low, fierce. "He's been watching me, waiting." The laptop beeped, and Noah cursed under his breath. "No match. But that don't mean nothing. If it's Hatch, he's off the grid. We need more." Loretta grabbed her notebook, flipping to the page about Mayflower. "This. The logo, the tree. That pickup on Highway 16 had it. And Vernon Hatch worked for them. I'm telling you, it's him." Noah nodded, scribbling notes. "All right. I'll dig into Mayflower, see what's left. Rhonda, you got any pull with the state archives?" "I'll make some calls," Rhonda said, but her eyes were on Loretta. "You sure you're ready for this? If we find something, it might not be what you want." "I've been ready for 30 years, Loretta said, her voice like steel. "He took my boy. I'm taking him back." "So." They worked for another hour, scanning the envelope, bagging it for prints, cross-referencing names. The rain slowed to a drizzle, but the air felt heavier, like the house was holding its breath. Loretta kept glancing at the photo, her stomach churning. She couldn't shake the feeling that those white eyes were watching her, even now. Then it happened. The fluorescent bulb flickered, buzzed, and went out, plunging the kitchen into darkness. Rhonda cursed, reaching for her phone, but Loretta froze, her heart pounding. From somewhere in the house, maybe the hallway, maybe closer, a faint, childish voice drifted through the shadows, soft and warped, like a broken record. "Mama, save me." Loretta's blood ran cold. The voice was Malik's, she'd know it anywhere, but it was wrong, hollow, like it was coming from underwater. She grabbed the table, her nails digging into the wood, as the voice faded into silence. Loretta? Noah's voice cut through, sharp. You hear that? She nodded, unable to speak, her eyes wide in the dark. Rhonda flicked on her phone's flashlight, sweeping it across the room. Nothing. Just the photo, lying on the table, its edges curling like it was alive. And then, from the hallway, a single, slow creak of the floorboards. The creak in the hallway stopped Loretta's heart. She stood frozen in her pitch-black kitchen, the childish whisper, "Mama, save me," still clawing at her mind. Rhonda's flashlight beam sliced through the dark, catching the glint of the cursed Polaroid on the table, its edges curled like a dying leaf. Noah, his hand already on the Glock at his hip, motioned for silence, his eyes locked on the hallway. "Stay here," he hissed, his voice low, taut. Like hell, Loretta snapped, grabbing a butcher knife from the counter. That was my boy's voice. Rhonda shot her a look, sharp, but worried. "Loretta, you don't know what's out there. Let Noah check." But Loretta was already moving, her slippers scuffing the linoleum, knife trembling in her grip. The air felt wrong, heavy, like it was pressing her lungs flat. She followed Noah, Rhonda close behind, their breaths loud in the silence. The hallway stretched ahead, narrow and shadowed, leading to the living room and the back door. Another creak, softer this time, came from the far end. Noah raised his gun, stepping slow, deliberate. "Whoever's there, come out now," he called, his voice steady but laced with warning. "I ain't asking twice." No answer, just the drip of rain through a leaky roof, plinking into a bucket somewhere. They reached the living room, empty except for an old couch and a television that hadn't worked in years. The back door was ajar, swaying in the wind, rain pooling on the floor. Noah cursed under his breath, lowering his gun. "Wind must have pushed it," he said, but his eyes scanned the room, uneasy. Loretta shook her head, her knuckles white around the knife. "That wasn't wind. And that voice, y'all heard it, didn't you?" Rhonda nodded, her flashlight sweeping the corners. "I heard something, but Loretta, it could have been the storm, pipes, anything. This house is old. Hell." "It was Malik," Loretta said, her voice fierce, unyielding. "I'd know his voice anywhere, even after 30 years. Noah shut the door, locking it tight. "All right, let's get back to the kitchen. We're too exposed here. Whatever's going on, we need to figure out that photo first." They retreated, the tension thick as fog. Loretta's mind raced, replaying the whisper, the white-eyed man in the Polaroid, the red ink scrawled on the back. "They're still singing." What did it mean? Was it a taunt? A clue? Or something worse? Something she couldn't yet grasp? Back in the kitchen, the fluorescent bulb buzzed back to life, casting its sickly glow. The photo sat untouched, but Loretta swore it looked different, like the man's smile had widened just a fraction. She shook the thought off, blaming her frayed nerves. Noah set up his laptop again, pulling up files on Mayflower Transit Services and Vernon Hatch. Rhonda bagged the envelope and photo for evidence, her movements quick, professional. "I'm taking this to the lab tomorrow," Rhonda said. "Prints, ink analysis, the works. But Loretta, you gotta stay calm. If someone's messing with you, we'll find them." "Calm?" Loretta's voice cracked, raw with anger. "Someone drops that at my door, with my boy's hand in it, and you want calm? Rhonda, I heard him. He's out there, and that bastard in the photo knows where." Noah looked up from his screen, his face grim. "She's right, Rhonda. This ain't random. That envelope was hand-delivered in a storm. Someone's watching, and they know Loretta's still digging." Rhonda sighed, rubbing her temples. "All right, what have you got on this Vernon guy?" Noah turned the laptop, showing a grainy DMV photo from 1994. Vernon Hatch, mid-30s, pale, gaunt, with dark eyes that didn't match the white-eyed figure in the Polaroid. Ex-prison guard, worked at a state pen in Valdosta till 93. Hired by Mayflower Transit in 94, drove buses for schools, including Jasper Elementary. Vanished after the company folded in '97. No tax records, no address, nothing since. Loretta leaned closer, studying the photo. That him? The guy in the picture? Noah shook his head. Hard to say. The eyes are wrong, and this guy's got a scar on his cheek. Not in your photo. Could be makeup, editing, or... He trailed off, unwilling to say it. Or what? Loretta pressed, her voice sharp. Or someone wants us to think it's him, Noah said. But I'm betting it's Hatch. He's the only link to Mayflower, and Mayflower's the only link to that bus. Loretta flipped open her notebook, pointing to a scribbled entry. Here. April '95, a gas station clerk on Highway 16 saw a white pickup with a tree logo, tailing the bus. Mayflower's logo was a pine tree. I told the cops, they didn't care. Noah nodded, typing fast. Good catch. I'll pull vehicle records, see if Hatch owned a pickup. Rhonda, you got access to old highway patrol logs? I'll need a warrant, Rhonda said, but I can push for it. What else you got? Loretta's eyes flicked to another note. Clara Sims. Teacher's aide at the school, quit the day after the bus vanished, said it was family trouble. I tried tracking her, but she was gone by '96. Moved to Kentucky, someone said. Noah's fingers paused on the keyboard. Kentucky's a big place, but if she's tied to Hatch, we might have a lead. I'll run her name, see what pops. The laptop beeped, pulling their attention. Noah frowned at the screen. Got something. Mayflower's old employee records, from a bankruptcy file. Hatch was flagged in '95 for unusual behavior, showing up at schools after hours, talking to kids when he wasn't on shift. Supervisor reported it, but nothing came of it. Loretta's stomach churned. He was stalking them. My boy. Those kids, she picked them. Looks like it, Noah said, his voice low. But we need more. If Hatch is still out there, he's not working alone. Someone dropped that photo, and that voice. He didn't finish, but the weight of it hung in the air. Loretta's hand tightened around her knife, still on the table. We need to find Clara. If she knows something, I'll make her talk. Noah glanced at Rhonda, who shook her head slightly. Loretta, we can't just go knocking on doors. If Clara's involved, she's dangerous. Let me handle it. Dangerous? Loretta's voice rose, jagged with pain. My boy's been gone 30 years, Rhonda. I heard him tonight, begging me. You think I care about dangerous? Before Rhonda could answer, Loretta's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Her heart skipped as she opened it. Stop digging, or you'll lose more than a son. No cinder, no trace. She showed it to Noah, her hand shaking. Burner phone, Noah said, jaw tight. They're close. Too close. Rhonda grabbed her radio, calling for a patrol car to sweep the area. Stay inside, both of you. I'm not taking chances. But Loretta was done waiting. Noah, you got Clara's last address? He hesitated, then nodded. Last known was a place outside Canton, 50 miles north. Old house, probably abandoned now. You thinking what I'm thinking? I'm thinking we go tonight, Loretta said, her voice like iron, before whoever's watching comes back. Rhonda threw up her hands. Y'all are crazy. It's midnight, and you're talking about chasing ghosts in a storm. At least wait till morning. Morning's too late, Loretta said. They know I'm close. I ain't giving them time to cover their tracks. Noah packed his gear, his face set. I'm in. Rhonda, you coming or staying? Rhonda cursed, grabbing her keys. I'm coming, but if we die out there, I'm haunting you both. They piled into Noah's Ranger, the rain picking up again, hammering the windshield. The drive to Canton was tense, the highway slick and empty, only the occasional semi roaring past. Loretta clutched her notebook, rereading her notes, her mind racing. That voice, Malik's voice, kept echoing, soft and broken. Was it real? A trick? Or something worse? Something she couldn't name? Noah broke the silence, his voice low. Loretta, if this is Hatch, he's been off the grid for decades. Guys like that don't slip up unless they want to. That photo, the text, it's a game. You sure you're ready for what's at the end of this? I've been ready since '95, she said, staring out at the dark. He took my boy, I'm taking him back, even if I gotta drag him out of hell. Rhonda snorted from the back seat. You sound like my mama when someone messed with her collard greens, stubborn as a mule. Loretta managed a faint smile, but it faded fast. The road stretched on, the wipers slapping rhythmically, until Noah slowed, turning onto a gravel lane flanked by pines. The house came into view, a sagging two-story wreck, windows boarded, roof half-caved. It looked like it hadn't been touched in decades, the yard choked with kudzu. This is it, Noah said, cutting the engine. Clara Sims' last address, or what's left of it. They stepped out, the rain cold and biting. Noah handed Loretta a flashlight, keeping his gun ready. Rhonda scanned the trees, her own flashlight sweeping the dark. Place gives me the creeps, she muttered. Let's make this quick. The front door was locked, but the wood was rotten, giving way with a shove. Inside, the air was thick with mildew, the floor littered with broken glass and rat droppings. Loretta's beam caught a staircase, its banister splintered, and a hallway leading to what might have been a kitchen. Split up? Noah asked, his voice barely above a whisper. No way, Rhonda said. We stick together. This ain't a horror movie. They moved as a unit, checking rooms, finding nothing but moldy furniture and cobwebs. Loretta's heart sank with each empty corner, but then Noah stopped, pointing his flashlight at a door under the staircase, barely visible, its edges blending into the wall. Basement, he said, testing the knob. It was locked, but the frame was weak. He kicked it open, the wood splintering with a sickening crack. A wave of damp, earthy air hit them, carrying a faint, metallic tang. Loretta's stomach twisted. What's that smell? Blood, Noah said, his voice flat. Or something close. They descended, the stairs creaking under their weight, the darkness swallowing their beams. At the bottom, the basement was a maze of crates and junk, but in the center sat a rusted metal box, padlocked, about the size of a footlocker. Noah pried it open with a crowbar, the lock snapping with a screech. Inside were drawings, dozens of them, childlike and crude, done in crayon and marker. They showed flames, tall and red, swallowing stick-figure kids, and a man with white eyes, arms raised like a preacher. Words were scrawled across them: fire saves, fire cleanses, the choir sings. Loretta's hand shook as she picked one up, her beam catching a name in the corner, Malik F. Oh, God, she whispered, tears burning her eyes. He was here. Rhonda grabbed another drawing, her face pale. This one's got Clara's name. And look dates. April 95, May 95. She was part of this. Noah rummaged deeper, pulling out a Polaroid, different from Loretta's but chillingly similar. The same bus, the same kids, but this time, the wide-eyed man was inside the bus, standing behind Malik, his hands on the boy's shoulders. Loretta gasped, dropping the drawing, her knees buckling. That's him, she said, her voice raw. That's the bastard who took my boy. Before anyone could respond, headlights flashed through a cracked basement window, bright and blinding. Tires crunched gravel outside, and an engine roared, too close. Noah shoved the drawings into his bag, grabbing Loretta's arm. Move, he barked. We're not alone. They scrambled up the stairs, hearts pounding, but as they reached the living room, the front door exploded inward, kicked off its hinges. A white pickup truck idled outside, its pine tree logo glinting in the rain. A figure stepped into the doorway, shadowed, rain dripping from a hooded jacket. You shouldn't be here, the figure said, voice low, male, and cold as ice. He raised a knife, its blade etched with a single letter. V. Loretta froze, the knife in her hand useless, as the figure took a step closer. Then, from behind her, Noah fired, the gunshot deafening in the cramped space. The figure ducked, vanishing into the dark, and the truck's engine roared as it peeled out, tires screeching. Get to the car, Rhonda shouted, shoving Loretta toward the door. They ran, rain stinging their faces, piling into Noah's Ranger. He floored it, the truck's taillights already fading down the lane. Loretta's heart hammered, her mind reeling. That logo, that knife, that voice, it was all real, not a ghost, not a dream. Noah glanced at her, his hands tight on the wheel. You okay? No, she said, her voice shaking but fierce. But I'm closer than ever. He's scared, Noah. He's running. Again. Back at her house, they spread the drawings on the kitchen table, the wide-eyed man staring from every page. Noah checked his gear, finding a small gash in his bag sliced clean through, like the knife had grazed it in the chaos. Inside, tucked among the drawings, was a folded note, not there before, written in red ink. They sing for him. Loretta's blood ran cold. She looked at Noah, then Rhonda, her voice barely a whisper. He was in the house with us. Call me. And then, from the hallway, a faint, childish giggle echoed, followed by a single, warped word, Mama. The childish giggle hung in the air like a blade, slicing through Loretta's frayed nerves. That single, warped Mama, echoed from the hallway, chilling her blood. She stood rigid in her Jasper kitchen, the red-inked note they sing for him clutched in her trembling hand. Noah's flashlight swept the shadows, his Glock drawn, while Rhonda's radio crackled, calling for backup that was still miles out. The drawings from Clara's basement lay scattered on the table, their crayon flames and white-eyed man glaring up like a curse. Loretta, get back, Noah hissed, his voice low, taut as a wire. He edged toward the hallway, gun steady, eyes scanning the dark. No way, Loretta said, her voice shaking but fierce, grabbing the butcher knife again. That's my boy calling me. I ain't hiding. Rhonda grabbed her arm, firm but urgent. You don't know what's out there, Loretta. Could be a trap, someone messing with your head. It's him, Loretta snapped, yanking free. That bastard Hatch. He's here, playing games, laughing at me. Her eyes burned, locked on the hallway where the giggle had faded into an oppressive silence. Noah signaled for quiet, stepping into the hall, his flashlight cutting through the gloom. Loretta followed, knife raised, Rhonda close behind, her own gun drawn. The floorboards creaked under their weight, each sound amplified in the suffocating dark. They checked every corner, living room, bathroom, Loretta's bedroom, finding nothing but rain-soaked curtains and the faint drip of a leaky faucet. The back door was still locked, the windows secure. Whatever or whoever had whispered was gone. Or hiding. Back in the kitchen, Noah holstered his gun, his jaw tight. We're too exposed here, Loretta. Pack a bag. You're not staying alone tonight. I ain't running, she said, slamming the knife on the table. This is my house, and Malik's out there. I heard him, Noah. You can't tell me I didn't. I'm not saying you didn't, Noah said, his voice softer but firm. But we're in deep, and whoever's behind this knows where you live. That note, that voice, they're baiting you. Rhonda nodded, bagging the new note with the drawings. He's right. I've got a safe house in Atlanta, 40 miles south. We can regroup, figure out our next move. Loretta's hands balled into fists, but she knew they were right. She grabbed her notebook, the Polaroid, and a change of clothes, stuffing them into a duffel. As they piled into Noah's Ranger, the rain slowed to a drizzle, leaving the night eerily still. Loretta's mind churned, replaying the giggle, the knife with the etched V, the white pickup's pine tree logo. Vernon Hatch was out there, taunting her, and she was closer to him than she'd ever been. They drove in tense silence, the highway stretching dark and empty, only the occasional deer eyes glinting in the brush. Noah broke the quiet, glancing at Loretta. We need more than drawings and a name. Clara Sims is our best shot. If she's alive, she knows something, maybe everything. Then we find her, Loretta said, her voice like steel. She was there in '95, Noah. She quit the day after my boy vanished. That ain't coincidence. Rhonda leaned forward from the back seat. You got an address? Kentucky's big, and we're not kicking down every door in the state. Noah nodded, pulling out his phone. Got a lead from an old contact. Clara's last known was a trailer park in Harlan, Kentucky, 200 miles northeast. She's off the grid, no phone, no utilities, but a neighbor reported her as late as last year. Then that's where we're going, Loretta said, her eyes fixed on the road. But we need help. Someone who knows the case, who's got the guts to dig where the cops won't. Noah's jaw tightened. I know someone. Sarah Tate, journalist, used to work for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Wrote a piece on the bus in '95, got close to something big, but her editor killed it. Rumor is, she's been chasing the story ever since, off the books. Call her, Loretta said. If she's got dirt on Hatch, I want it. They pulled into a Waffle House, off I-75, its neon sign buzzing in the pre-dawn haze. Inside, the air smelled of burnt coffee and hash browns, the counter sticky with syrup. They slid into a booth, Noah dialing Sarah, while Rhonda ordered coffee to keep them awake. Loretta flipped through her notebook, her fingers tracing old entries. Highway 16 witness, white pickup, Pine logo. Clara Sims, quit 4 divided by 16 divided by 95. Vernon Hatch, Mayflower, no record after 97. Sarah answered on the third ring, her voice raspy, like she'd been up all night. Noah agree. It's 4 a.m. This better be good. It's about the Jasper bus, 95, Noah said, keeping his voice low. We've got new evidence photos, drawings, a name. Vernon Hatch. You still got those files you never published? A pause, then a sharp intake of breath. You're serious? After all this time? Dead serious, Noah said. We're in Atlanta, need you here. Bring everything you've got. In. I'm in Decatur, 20 minutes away, Sarah said. Meet me at the Waffle House on 75. But Noah, this ain't a game. You know why my story got buried. Tell me when you get here, Noah said, hanging up. He turned to Loretta. She's coming, but she's spooked. Said someone high up, shut her down back then. Who? Loretta demanded, her voice sharp. Noah hesitated. She didn't say, but my guess? Someone with pull, politician, cop, maybe even Mayflower brass. Loretta's mind flashed to her notebook, a vague note about a local senator, Harlan Brooks, who'd pushed to move on after the disappearance. She filed it away, her gut telling her it wasn't random. Sarah arrived 15 minutes later, a wiry woman in her late 40s, hair pulled back, eyes bloodshot behind thick glasses. She carried a battered messenger bag, stuffed with papers, and slid into the booth, sizing them up. All right, Noah, who's this? Loretta Fields, Noah said. Her son, Malik, was on that bus. Rhonda Avery, FBI. We're chasing a lead, and you're our best shot at cracking it. Sarah's eyes softened as they met Loretta's. I'm sorry about your boy. I tried to keep the story alive, but they made it clear to too deep, and I'd lose everything. Who's they? Loretta asked, leaning forward, her voice low, fierce. Sarah glanced around, lowering her voice. Harlan Brooks, state senator in '95. He was tight with the school board, had investments in Mayflower Transit. My editor said Brooks called him personally, told him to kill my story or I'd be out of a job. I pushed back, got fired anyway. Been freelancing since, chasing leads on my own. Loretta's hands clenched. Brooks, that son of a bitch was at every vigil, preaching about healing. He knew something? Maybe, Sarah said, pulling a folder from her bag. I got this from a photographer who worked the case, died in '97. He gave me a roll of film, undeveloped, shot on Highway 16 the day the bus vanished. I had it processed last year. She slid a photo across the table, grainy but clear, a white pickup with a pine tree logo, parked at a gas station. 2 figures stood beside Ida Man, gaunt, pale, matching Vernon Hatch's DMV photo, and a woman, short, with a scarf, her face half-turned. Loretta's breath caught. That's Clara Sims, she said, pointing at the woman. I'd know her anywhere. She was at the school, always hovering around the kids. Sarah nodded. I think so too. I tracked her to Kentucky, but she's a ghost now. No records, no nothing. Noah leaned in, studying the photo. This is gold, Sarah, Hatch and Clara, together, on the day it happened. We need to find her, make her talk. Sarah hesitated, her fingers tapping the table. I'll help, but I want the story. Exclusive. This could put me back on the map. Loretta's eyes narrowed. You want fame. I want my son. Don't turn Malik into a headline. You hear me? Sarah met her gaze, unflinching. I hear you, but without me, you're chasing shadows. I've got files, contacts, stuff even Noah can't touch. You want Clara? I'm your ticket. Loretta's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Fine, but you cross me, Sarah, and I'll make you regret it. Deal, Sarah said, a faint smirk tugging her lips. Let's move. Harlan's 3 hours away. We hit Clara's last known address. See what's left. They paid the check and piled into Noah's truck, the sky lightening to a bruised gray. The drive to Harlan, Kentucky, was long, the road winding through rolling hills and dense pines. Loretta clutched the Polaroid from her house, her thumb tracing Malik's face, the child's hand in the window haunting her. She couldn't shake the giggle, the whisper, or the knife with the V. Whoever was out there was close too close. Harlan was a speck of a town, all sagging trailers and dollar stores. Clara's last address was a double wide at the edge of a trailer park, its aluminum siding rusted, windows covered with plywood. A wooden cross stood in the yard, draped with faded rosaries, and strange symbol circles with flames inside were carved into the doorframe. This place screams bad news, Rhonda muttered, her hand on her holster. Noah nodded, scanning the lot. Stay sharp. If Clara's here, she's not going to be happy to see us. They knocked, the door rattling under Noah's fist. No answer, but a faint shuffle came from inside, like someone moving fast. Loretta's heart raced. She's in there, she whispered. I know it. Noah kicked the door open, the lock snapping like dry wood. The trailer was a mess stacked newspapers, religious pamphlets, and jars of what looked like ash lining the shelves. The air was thick, sour, like something had died and been left to rot. In the corner sat Clara Sims, older now, her hair gray and matted, eyes wide with fear. She clutched a Bible, her hands trembling. Get out, Clara hissed, her voice brittle. You don't know what you're doing. Loretta stepped forward, her voice low, dangerous. Clara, you knew my boy, Malik. You were there in '95, with that bus. Where is he? What did you do? Clara's eyes darted to the door, then back to Loretta. I didn't do nothing. I swear, I helped with the kids, that's all. Liar. Loretta snapped, slamming the Polaroid on a table. You're in this photo, with Vernon Hatch, the day they vanished. You quit the next day, ran to this hellhole. Talk, Clara, or I'll make you. Clara's face crumpled, tears streaking her cheeks. You don't understand. He sees everything. Vernon, he's not human. He made me help, said he'd tell everyone about. She stopped, her voice breaking. About what? Noah pressed, his gun still drawn. Spit it out, Clara. Clara's hand shook, her Bible falling to the floor. The accident. 94. I hit a kid with my car, a boy from the school. Didn't mean to, but he died. Vernon knew, said he'd keep it quiet if I helped him. I didn't know what he was planning, I swear. Loretta's heart pounded. What was he planning, Clara? Where's my son? Clara's voice dropped to a whisper, her eyes wild. The choir. He called them his choir, said they'd sing to save the world from fire. They're in the mountains, hidden, under the flames. I saw them, Loretta, your boy, the others, singing for him. Where? Loretta grabbed Clara's shoulders, shaking her. Tell me where. Clara opened her mouth, but before she could answer, a spark flashed outside, followed by a deafening whoosh. Flames erupted, licking up the trailer's walls, the air turning thick with smoke. Clara screamed, scrambling back, as the fire spread, unnatural, too fast. Out now, Noah shouted, grabbing Loretta. They ran for the door, but Clara stayed, frozen, her eyes fixed on the flames. He's here, she shrieked. He sees me. The fire roared, swallowing her words, her body, as the trailer became an inferno. They stumbled into the yard, coughing, the heat searing their skin. The trailer burned like a pyre, the carved symbols glowing red before crumbling. Loretta's knees buckled, Noah catching her as she gasped for air. Rhonda radioed for help, her voice shaking. We need fire, EMS, now. Trailer park off Route 421, Harlan. Loretta stared at the blaze, Clara's screams echoing in her mind. She said mountains, she whispered, her voice raw. My boys in the mountains. Noah pulled out his phone, hands steady despite the chaos. I've got a guy in Tennessee, does drone work, no questions asked. If there's a camp in those hills, he'll find it. Sarah, who'd stayed by the truck, ran over, her face pale. What the hell happened? 1 minute we're talking, the next it's a damn bonfire. Vernon, Loretta said, her voice hollow. He's cleaning up, Clara knew too much. As the fire trucks wailed in the distance, Noah's phone pinged with a message from his drone guy. Got footage. You're not going to believe this. Attached was a grainy still cluster of wooden buildings, hidden in the Appalachians, a bell tower rising from the center, and a fire pit burning bright, never dying. In the foreground, a young black man chopped wood, his face blurred but familiar, too familiar. Loretta grabbed the phone, her breath catching. Malik, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. That's my boy. Before anyone could respond, Sarah's phone buzzed, a video from an unknown number. She opened it, and they all froze. It was dark, grainy, but unmistakable, a group of children, Malik among them, singing, "You Are My Sunshine," in a cavernous space, their voices hollow, mechanical. Behind them stood Vernon Hatch, his eyes white as bone, his smile wide and wrong, like he was looking through the screen, straight at Loretta. The video cut to black, and a single word whispered through the speaker, "Run." The word "run" hissed from Sarah's phone, a venomous whisper that froze Loretta's blood. The video's final frame lingered in her mind. Vernon Hatch's wide-eyed stare, his smile twisted like a blade, and Malik, her Malik, singing, "You Are My Sunshine" with those hollow-eyed children. The burning trailer crackled behind them, Clara Sim's screams still echoing in the Harlan night. Fire truck sirens wailed closer, their red lights pulsing through the rain-soaked dark, but Loretta barely noticed. Her eyes were glued to the drone still. Noah clutched, showing her son alive, chopping wood in some godforsaken Appalachian hideout. "We gotta move," Noah said, his voice low, urgent, as he shoved his phone into his pocket. "That video wasn't a warning, it's a trap. He knows we're here." Loretta's hand shook, clutching the Polaroid from her house. Malik's tiny hand pressed against the bus window. "Trap or not, my boy's out there. I'm going to those mountains, Noah, tonight." Rhonda grabbed her arm, her face tight with worry. "Loretta, you saw that fire. Clara's gone, and whoever did this isn't playing. We need the FBI, a full team, not some half-assed midnight hike." "FBI?" Loretta's voice cracked, raw with fury. "They ignored me for 30 years, Rhonda. Called me crazy, told me to pray and move on. My son's in that camp, and I ain't waiting for suits to decide he's worth saving." Sarah, still pale from the video, spoke up, her voice shaky but sharp. "She's right. If Vernon sent that, he's spooked. He'll move those kids or worse before the feds even file a report. We've got the drone footage, coordinates. We go now, or we lose them." Noah cursed under his breath, running a hand through his graying hair. "Y'all are gonna get us killed, but fine. We'll scout it, but we're not storming in blind. I've got gear in the truck radios, flares, a rifle. Rhonda, you in around?" Rhonda's jaw clenched, but she nodded. "In. But if we'd out there, I'm blaming you, Agra." They piled into Noah's Ranger, the fire trucks roaring past as they peeled out of the trailer park. The coordinates from the drone pointed to a spot deep in Cumberland County, 60 miles north, a tangle of forest and ridges where cell signals died and roads turned to mud. Noah drove fast, the wipers slapping against the drizzle, while Sarah pulled files from her bag, spreading them across her lap. "I've got something," Sarah said, her flashlight bouncing as she read. An old report, buried in a Kentucky State Archive. May 96, a forest fire in Cumberland County. Locals reported seeing black kids near the blaze, but when rangers checked, they found nothing. Case was closed as a prank, but the dates line up with Clara's drawings. Loretta's stomach churned. "Kids in a fire?" That's what Clara said under the flames. "What the hell is he doing to them?" Sarah hesitated, her voice dropping. "There's more." The report mentioned a group, some kind of cult, calling themselves the Choir of Flame. They were linked to a string of missing kids in the 90s, all black, all under 10. No arrests, no leads, just rumors of a man with ghost eyes leading them. Vernon, Loretta whispered, her voice barely audible. The Polaroid burned in her hand, that wide-eyed face mocking her. Noah glanced at her, his grip tight on the wheel. If this is a cult, we're walking into a hornet's nest. These people don't just hide, they fight. You ready for that, Loretta? I've been ready since '95, she said, her voice like iron. He took my boy. I'm taking him back, even if I gotta burn that whole damn forest down. Rhonda snorted from the back seat, breaking the tension. You sound like my auntie when someone stole her peach cobbler. Hell hath no fury, huh? Loretta's lips twitched, but the humor died fast. Her mind was on Malik, on that video, his voice warped, his eyes empty. Was he still her boy, or had Vernon twisted him into something else? She pushed the thought down, focusing on the road ahead, the pines looming like sentinels in the dark. They reached a dirt turnoff, barely a path, leading into the heart of the Appalachians. Noah parked, cutting the lights, and handed out gear. Radios, flashlights, a flare gun for Loretta. He slung a rifle over his shoulder, his face grim. We're 3 miles from the coordinates. No roads, no trails. We go on foot. Stay quiet. If we see anything cult, camp, whatever we call it in, no hero shit. Got it? Got it, Sarah said, though her eyes gleamed with a mix of fear and ambition. But if we find them, I'm getting footage. This story's my ticket back. No answer, but a faint shuffle came from inside, like someone moving fast. Loretta's heart raced. She's in there, she whispered. I know it. Noah kicked the door open, the lock snapping like dry wood. The trailer was a mess, stacked newspapers, religious pamphlets, and jars of what looked like ash lining the shelves. The air was thick, sour, like something had died and been left to rot. In the corner sat Clara Sims, older now, her hair gray and matted, eyes wide with fear. She gripped the flare gun, her flashlight beam cutting through the fog, catching strange carvings on the pine circles with flames, just like Clara's trailer. These are markers, Noah whispered, tracing one with his finger. They're guiding you, sir, warning us. Or both, Rhonda muttered, her gun drawn, eyes scanning the dark. This place feels wrong, like the air's alive. Loretta didn't answer, her focus on the path ahead. The drone footage had shown a village, wooden huts, a bell tower, a fire pit that never died. Malik was there, she knew it, felt it in her bones. But Clara's words under the flames gnawed at her, conjuring images of her boy trapped, burning, singing for a monster. They trekked for an hour, the forest growing denser, the silence oppressive. Then, faintly, a sound drifted through the trees, a low, rhythmic hum, like voices joined in song. Loretta froze, her breath catching. It was You Are My Sunshine, but wrong, slow, the notes warped into something unholy, like a hymn from a broken choir. That's them, she whispered, her voice trembling with hope and dread. Malik. Noah held up a hand, signaling for quiet. It's coming from ahead, maybe half a mile. We're close, but we need to. His words cut off as a branch snapped behind them, loud and deliberate. They spun, flashlights sweeping the dark, catching a flicker of movement, a hooded figure, darting between trees, gone in a blink. Rhonda cursed, raising her gun, but Noah grabbed her arm. Don't shoot, he hissed. We're not alone, they're watching. Loretta's pulse hammered, her flare gun heavy in her hand. Vernon's people, she said, her voice low, fierce. They know we're here. Keep moving, Noah said, his rifle up now. Stay tight, eyes open. They pushed forward, the singing growing louder, more distinct, the voices young but hollow, like they'd forgotten how to feel. The trees thinned, revealing a clearing, and there it was, the village from the drone footage, nestled between ridges, its wooden huts dark and crude, a bell tower looming like a skeletal finger. A fire pit burned in the center, its flames unnaturally bright, never flickering, casting long shadows that danced like demons. Loretta's breath hitched. She scanned the huts, searching for movement, for Malik. The singing came from below, Not the village, but somewhere deeper, like it was rising from the earth itself. Underground, Sarah whispered, her eyes wide. Clara said under the flames, "There's a bunker, or something." Noah nodded, pointing to a low structure near the fire pit, half hidden by brush. "That's our entry. Looks like a storm cellar, but bigger. We check it, quiet." They crept closer, hugging the shadows, the singing now a relentless drone, the words of, "You are my sunshine," twisted into a dirge. Loretta's heart pounded, her mind flashing to the video, Malik's empty eyes. Was he down there, lost to her forever? She gripped the flare gun tighter, her knuckles white. They reached the cellar door, its wood carved with the same flame circle symbols. Noah tested it unlocked, creaking as he lifted it. A wave of cold, damp air hit them, carrying the metallic tang of blood, and something sweeter, like incense gone bad. The singing was louder now, echoing up a stone stairwell that spiraled into darkness. "This is it," Noah said, his voice barely audible. "Last chance to turn back." "No chance," Loretta said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing her gut. "My boy's down there. I'm going." Sarah swallowed hard, pulling out a small camera. "I'm recording. If we don't make it, someone needs to see this." Loretta glared but said nothing, following Noah down the stairs, Rhonda and Sarah close behind. The air grew thicker, the walls slick with moss, the singing deafening, a chorus of lost souls. At the bottom, the stairwell opened into a cavern, its ceiling studded with roots, its floor packed dirt. Lanterns hung from beams, casting a sickly yellow glow over a circle of figures, children, teenagers, adults, all black, dressed in gray tunics, their eyes blank as they sang. In the center stood a crude altar, piled with ash and bones, a single flame burning atop it, never dying. Loretta's breath caught, her eyes scanning the faces. There, at the edge, was Malik, taller, older, his hair in tight coils, but unmistakable, his face weathered but hers. He sang, his voice mechanical, his hands clasped like he was praying to the flame. "Malik," she whispered, stepping forward, but Noah grabbed her arm. "Wait," he hissed. "Look." From the shadows, a figure emerged, tall, gaunt, bearded, his eyes wide and hollow, just like the Polaroid. Vernon Hatch. He raised a hand, and the singing stopped, the silence crushing. The figures turned, their blank eyes locking on Loretta, Noah, Rhonda, and Sarah, like puppets waiting for a command. "You shouldn't have come," Vernon said, his voice smooth, almost melodic, but laced with menace. "The choir is sacred, you're defiling it." Loretta shook free of Noah, her voice trembling but fierce. "You took my son, you sick bastard. Give him back, or I swear I'll—" "You'll what?" Vernon's smile widened, his white eyes glinting. "The choir sings for salvation, Mrs. Fields. Your son chose the flame, just like the others. Ask him." And Malik's head tilted, his eyes meeting hers, but there was no recognition, no spark. "I'm Elijah," he said, his voice flat. "I serve the choir." Loretta's heart shattered, but she held her ground, tears burning her cheeks. "No, baby, you're Malik. You're my sunshine. You remember, don't you?" Vernon laughed, a low, guttural sound. "He remembers what I taught him. Fire cleanses, fire saves. The world out there, it's chaos, filth. I gave them peace." Noah raised his rifle, his voice steady. "Step away from the kids, Hatch. You're done." Vernon's eyes flicked to him, amused. "You think you can stop the flame? It's eternal, detective, and you're already too late." Before anyone could react, a scream tore through the cavern. Sarah, yanked backward by a hooded figure, her camera clattering to the dirt. More figures emerged, gray-tunicked, knives gleaming, their faces blank but purposeful. Rhonda fired, the shot echoing, dropping one, but another tackled her, pinning her down. Noah swung his rifle, cracking a skull, but there were too many, closing in like wolves. Loretta dodged a blade, her flare gun shaking as she aimed at Vernon. "Call them off," she screamed. "Now!" Vernon's smile never wavered. "The choir protects its own. You should have run, Mrs. Fields. Malik Elijah stepped forward, a knife in his hand, his eyes locked on Loretta. She froze, the flare gun wavering. Malik, baby, it's me, Mama. You don't want to do this. 9. He hesitated, his hand trembling, but Vernon's voice cut through, sharp and commanding. Elijah, the flame demands loyalty. Cleanse her. Loretta's heart pounded, her finger on the trigger, but she couldn't shoot, not at her son. The others closed in, knives raised, and Noah shouted, "Loretta, run!" She bolted, scrambling back toward the stairs, her flashlight dropped, the dark swallowing her. Behind her, Sarah's screams faded, Rhonda's gun fired again, and Noah's voice roared, cut off by a sickening thud. The singing resumed, louder, mocking, as Loretta stumbled through the forest, branches clawing her face, her breath ragged. She collapsed in a small cave, its mouth hidden by vines, her body shaking, the flare gun still clutched tight. Her mind reeled Malik, her boy, a stranger with a knife, Vernon's white eyes, the choir's endless song. She fumbled in her pocket, pulling out the Polaroid, its edges torn but Malik's face clear, his tiny hand pressing the window. Then she saw it, carved into the cave wall, a circle with a flame, and below it, a figure with white eyes, surrounded by children, their mouths open in song. Her blood ran cold, her fingers tracing the lines, realizing this wasn't just a hideout, it was a shrine. A twig snapped outside, and a voice low, male, cold as ice whispered through the dark, "You can't hide from the flame, Mrs. Fields." The whisper slithered through the cave's damp air, cold and sharp as a blade. "You can't hide from the flame, Mrs. Fields." Loretta's heart pounded, her back pressed against the jagged rock wall, the flare gun trembling in her sweat-slick hand. The carved shrine loomed behind her, a circle with a flame, children singing around a wide-eyed figure, etched deep into the stone like a curse. Outside, footsteps crunched in the underbrush, deliberate, closing in. The forest was alive with menace, the Appalachian night suffocating under Vernon Hatch's shadow. Loretta's mind raced, replaying the cavern's horror, Malik, now Elijah holding a knife, his eyes blank, ready to cleanse her at Vernon's command. Sarah's screams, Rhonda's gunfire, Noah's shout cut short by a thud she'd left them all behind, running blind, her only thought to survive long enough to save her son. The Polaroid in her pocket burned against her thigh, Malik's tiny hand pressed to the bus window, a plea from 30 years ago. The footsteps stopped, replaced by a low chuckle, guttural and wrong. "You're stubborn, Mrs. Fields," the voice said, closer now, just beyond the cave's mouth. "But the flame sees all. Your boy belongs to it now." Loretta's breath hitched, her fingers tightening on the flare gun. It wasn't Vernon's voice, too young, too rough, but it carried his venom, one of his choir, she realized, a disciple sent to silence her. She scanned the cave, her eyes adjusting to the faint moonlight filtering through the vines. A narrow crevice snaked deeper into the rock, barely wide enough for her to squeeze through. It was her only shot. She moved, fast and silent, shoving herself into the crevice, the stone scraping her arms, her duffel catching on a jagged edge. The flare gun clattered against the rock, and she froze, heart hammering, as the chuckle outside turned to a growl. "Running won't save you," the voice snarled, followed by the rustle of vines being torn aside. Loretta pushed harder, her chest burning, until she stumbled into a wider chamber, the air colder, stale. Her flashlight was gone, lost in the forest, but she fumbled for a matchbook in her pocket, striking one against the wall. The flame flared, casting flickering shadows over a pile of papers, maps, and God help her children's shoes, stacked like offerings. Her stomach churned. She knelt, the match burning her fingers, and grabbed a yellowed notebook, its pages crammed with Vernon's scrawl. "The choir of flame will sing to halt the end. 18 souls, pure, chosen. Fire cleanse, fire binds." Below it, a list of names, 18 in all, each with a date and a place. Malik's was there, Malik Fields, 4 divided by 15 divided by 95, Jasper, Georgia. Others followed, kids from Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, all black, all vanished between 94 and 97. Loretta's hand shook, tears blurring her vision. This wasn't just a kidnapping, it was a ritual, a delusion, Vernon's twisted bid to save the world. A noise behind her snapped her back a-scraping, like boots on stone. She dropped the match, plunging the chamber into darkness, and scrambled behind a crate, her flare gun raised. The footsteps echoed, slow, deliberate, and then a beam of light cut through, a flashlight sweeping the room. "Come out, Mrs. Fields," the voice said, now clear, male, laced with malice. "The choir needs you gone." Loretta's heart pounded, but she held still, her mind racing. She needed time, needed to get back to Malik, to Noah, to anyone who could stop this. She felt along the floor, her fingers brushing something cold, a rusted nail, long and sharp. It wasn't much, but it was something. The beam swung closer, the man's boots inches from her crate. She lunged, driving the nail into his calf, a guttural scream tearing from his throat. He stumbled, the flashlight clattering, and Loretta fired the flare gun, the red streak hissing past him, slamming into the cave wall. Sparks erupted, lighting the chamber, revealing her attacker, a man in his 30s, gray-tunicked, eyes wild with pain and rage, a knife etched with a V in his hand. "You bitch!" he roared, lunging, but Loretta Duff, rolling across the dirt, grabbing the fallen flashlight. She swung it, cracking his jaw, and ran, the chamber's exit a faint glow ahead. His screams chased her, mingled with the distant hum of that cursed song, "You Are My Sunshine," rising from the forest. She burst into the night, the air cold and biting, the village's fire pit glowing like a beacon half a mile away. Her legs burned, her lungs screamed, but she ran, dodging trees, the Polaroid still in her pocket, Malik's name a mantra in her head. She had to find him, had to break Vernon's hold before the choir consumed him forever. The singing grew louder, the village coming into view, its huts dark, the bell tower skeletal against the sky. The cellar door was open, light spilling from below, and Loretta slowed, crouching behind a pine, her breath ragged. Figures moved in the clearing, gray-tunicked, armed, patrolling like soldiers. No sign of Noah, Rhonda, or Sarah, just the relentless drone of the song, now joined by a low, rhythmic chant, "Fire saves, fire binds." Loretta's eyes locked on the cellar. Malik was down there, she knew it, but storming in was suicide. She needed a plan, a distraction, something to draw the guards away. Her hand brushed the matchbook in her pocket, only a few left. The forest was damp, but the huts were wood, old and dry. It was risky, but it was all she had. She crept closer, staying low, until she reached the nearest hut, its walls weathered, stacked with kindling. She struck a match, shielding it from the drizzle, and held it to the wood, praying it would catch. The flame licked upward, slow at first, then faster, crackling as it spread. Shouts erupted from the guards, their flashlights swinging toward the blaze, and Loretta ran, diving for the cellar, as chaos broke out behind her. The stairs spiraled down, the air thick with that sickly incense, the singing deafening. She reached the cavern, its lanterns casting long shadows over the choir, still circled around the altar, their faces blank, their voices unbroken despite the shouts above. Vernon stood at the altar, his white eyes gleaming, a leather-bound book in his hands, its pages scrawled with flame symbols. Loretta hid behind a pillar, her eyes on Malik Elijah standing near the altar, his knife gone but his hands clasped, his lips moving with the song. Her heart ached, seeing her boy so close yet so far, a stranger in his own skin. She scanned the cavern, spotting Sarah slumped against a wall, blood trickling from her temple, her camera gone. Rhonda was nowhere, but Noah's rifle lay discarded near the stairs, a faint smear of blood beside it. Vernon's voice rose, cutting through the song, smooth and commanding. "The flame is eternal, my choir. The world crumbles, but we endure, chosen to sing, to halt the end. Tonight, we cleanse an intruder, a defiler who dares challenge our light." He gestured, and two figures dragged a bound Noah into the circle, his face bruised, blood matting his hair. Loretta's breath caught, her nails digging into her palms. Noah was alive, but barely, his eyes defiant despite the pain. "This man sought to silence our song," Vernon said, his smile wide, unnatural. But the flame consumes all doubt. Elijah, prove your loyalty, cleanse him. Malik stepped forward, picking up a knife from the altar, his movements mechanical, his eyes empty. Loretta's heart shattered, a sob catching in her throat. She couldn't wait. Couldn't lose him again. She stepped out, flare gun raised, her voice raw and desperate. "Stop," she shouted, her words echoing off the walls. "Vernon, you want me? Here I am. Leave my son alone." The choir froze, their singing faltering, their blank eyes turning to her. Vernon's smile widened, his white eyes glinting like polished bone. "Mrs. Fields, your persistence is admirable, but futile. Elijah is ours, bound by the flame." "He's my son," Loretta said, her voice trembling but fierce, the flare gun steady. "Malik, baby, look at me. It's Mama, you remember, don't you? You are my sunshine, every night before bed. You'd make me sing it twice." Malik's hand twitched, the knife wavering, his eyes flickering with something confusion, maybe pain. Vernon's smile faded, his voice sharp. "Elijah, the flame commands you. Obey." Loretta stepped closer, tears streaming down her face, her voice soft, pleading. "Malik, you hated bananas, loved Spider-Man, said the oak in our yard was your guardian. You're not Elijah. You're my boy, my sunshine. Come back to me." Malik's lips parted, a faint tremor running through him, but Vernon's hand shot out, grabbing his shoulder, his voice a hiss. "The flame is your truth, Elijah. She's a liar, a defiler. Cleanse her." Malik raised the knife, his eyes locked on Loretta, and she braced herself, refusing to shoot, refusing to give up. Then, a gunshot cracked, deafening in the cavern, and Vernon staggered, blood blooming on his shoulder. Rhonda stood at the stairs, her Glock smoking, her face bloodied but fierce. "FBI," she shouted, "drop the knife, now." Chaos erupted. The choir screamed, some scattering, others lunging with knives, their blank eyes wild with panic. Noah broke free, tackling a guard, while Rhonda fired again, dropping another. Loretta ran for Malik, dodging a blade, her voice desperate. "Malik, please." He froze, the knife falling from his hand, his eyes wide, searching hers. "Mama?" He whispered, the word fragile, like glass. "Yes, baby," Loretta sobbed, reaching for him, but Vernon roared, his wound ignored, his book raised like a shield. "The flame cannot be stopped," he bellowed, grabbing a lantern and smashing it, oil igniting in a whoosh, flames racing across the dirt. The cavern became an inferno, smoke choking the air, the choir's screams mingling with the crackle of fire. Loretta grabbed Malik's arm, pulling him toward the stairs, his body limp, his eyes dazed. Noah dragged Sarah, her groans faint, while Rhonda fired at Vernon, but he vanished into the smoke, his laughter echoing like a demon's. They stumbled up the stairs, the fire chasing them, the village above a chaos of flames and shouts. FBI SUVs roared into the clearing, agents swarming, their radios crackling. Loretta collapsed in the mud, Malik beside her, his breath shallow, his eyes fixed on the burning village. "You're safe, baby," she whispered, stroking his face, tears mixing with soot. "Mama's got you." He looked at her, his voice barely audible. I sang for him. He said it'd save us." Loretta's heart broke, but she held him tight, singing softly, her voice trembling. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Malik's lips moved, mouthing the words, a faint spark in his eyes. Rhonda knelt beside them, her face grim. "We've got agents sweeping the woods, but Vernon's gone. There's a tunnel under the altar." Bastard slipped out. Loretta's blood ran cold. "He's not done," she said, her voice hollow. "He'll come back." Noah, supporting Sarah, nodded, his face bruised but fierce. "He's got more camps, Loretta. Those papers you found, there's others. In Tennessee, West Virginia, we'll find them." Sarah coughed, her voice weak. "My camera. It's down there. Got it all." The choir. Vernon. An agent approached, holding a cinched notebook, its pages curling. "Found this in the cavern," he said. "Names, dates, locations, Looks like a ledger. Loretta took it, her hand shaking, scanning the pages. More names, more kids, some marked cleansed, others relocated. A map was tucked inside, red pins dotting the Appalachians, each a potential hell like this one. Her eyes fell on a final entry, in Vernon's scrawl, "The choir will rise again. The flame is eternal." She looked at Malik, his face pale, his body trembling. "We're not done," she said, her voice low, fierce. "Not until he's gone for good." As the agents secured the village, a faint sound drifted from the woods, a low, warped hum, like voices joined in song. Loretta froze, her heart pounding, recognizing the melody. "You are my sunshine," sung slow, unholy, a taunt from the dark. Malik's hand tightened on hers, his voice a whisper. "He's still out there, Mama." And then, from the trees, a single, childish giggle echoed, followed by a word that turned her blood to ice. "Burn." The childish giggle lingered in the Appalachian night, sharp and chilling, followed by that single, venomous word, "burn." Loretta clutched Malik's hand, her heart hammering, as the warped hum of "You are my sunshine" drifted from the dark forest, a taunt from Vernon Hatch's unseen choir. The village burned behind them, its huts reduced to smoldering ash, the FBI's floodlights casting stark shadows across the muddy clearing. Agents swarmed, their radios crackling, while paramedics tended to Sarah, her face bruised but alive, and Noah, his arm in a sling, barking orders despite the blood on his temple. Malik sat beside Loretta, his body trembling, his eyes fixed on the trees, as if expecting Vernon's wide-eyed face to emerge from the dark. "Mama," he whispered, the word fragile, like it might break if he said it too loud. "He's still out there. I feel him." Loretta squeezed his hand, her voice soft but fierce. "He ain't taking you again, baby. Not now, not ever. You're home with me." But even as she said it, doubt gnawed at her. Vernon had slipped through the tunnel, vanished like smoke, leaving behind his burning village and a ledger of nameskids stolen over decades, some marked cleansed, others relocated. The map she'd found, dotted with red pins across Tennessee and West Virginia, burned in her mind. How many more villages? How many more children, singing for a madman's flame? Rhonda approached, her face grim, her FBI jacket streaked with soot. "We've got 12 survivors from the cavern, all adults now, all black. Most don't know their real names, just what Vernon gave them: Elijah, Ruth, Gideon. We're taking them to a trauma center in Louisville, 40 miles west. Malik, you'll need to go too, get checked out." Malik's eyes flicked to Loretta, panic flashing. "I'm not leaving her." "Why?" "You're not," Loretta said, her voice steady, her hand on his cheek. "I'm coming with you. We're doing this together." Noah limped over, his face pale but determined. "Loretta, we found something in the tunnel, a hidden cache. More notebooks, maps, even a few IDs. Vernon's been at this a long time, maybe since the 80s. The FBI's opening a task force, hitting those other locations, but he's in the wind, and he's got help." "No." "Help?" Sarah croaked, sitting up on a stretcher, her voice weak but sharp. "You mean like that bastard who grabbed me? Gray tunic, knife with a V? He wasn't just some follower, he moved, like he was trained." Loretta's stomach churned, remembering the man in the cave, the one she'd stabbed with a nail. "Gideon," she said, her voice low. "Clara mentioned him, said he was loyal to Vernon, believed in the flame." Rhonda nodded, her jaw tight. "We're running prints from the knives we found. If Gideon's out there, we'll get him. But Loretta, you and Malik need to lay low. Vernon's got eyes, maybe even in Jasper." "No," Loretta said, her voice like iron. "I'm done hiding. He took 30 years from me. I'm not giving him another day." Malik looked at her, his eyes searching, still clouded with doubt. "He said you left me, Mama. Said you didn't want me, that the flame saved me." Loretta's heart shattered, tears burning her cheeks. She pulled the Polaroid from her pocket, holding it up, Malik's 5-year-old face smiling back. "Baby, I never stopped looking. I begged, screamed, clawed through every door they slammed in my face. The cops, the papers, they didn't care about 18 black kids on a field trip, but I did. I always did. Malik's lips trembled, his hand reaching for the photo, his fingers tracing his own face. I dreamed of you. A woman singing, holding me. But he said it was a lie, that the world was fire, and only he could save us. Loretta pulled him close, her voice breaking. He's the lie, Malik. You're my sunshine, always were. An agent interrupted, holding the singed notebook from the cavern. Mrs. Fields, you need to see this. He flipped it open, revealing a page titled, The Choir's Covenant. Vernon's scrawl was frantic, almost unreadable. The flame demands purity, 18 souls to halt the end, to sing through the final fire. Relocate the unworthy, cleanse the defiant. Below it, a list of names, some crossed out, others circled, with dates stretching to 2024. Loretta's blood ran cold. Relocate, she whispered. Some of those kids aren't here, are they? The agent shook his head. We're missing at least 6 from the original 18. Vernon's notes mention other sanctuaries. We're mobilizing teams now. Noah's eyes narrowed. He's got a network. Those pins on the map, there's at least 3 more camps. Tennessee, West Virginia, maybe Virginia. He's not just a lone nut. Someone's funding him, protecting him. Sarah, now sitting up, her voice steadier, spoke up. Harlan Brooks. That senator I told you about? He had ties to Mayflower, maybe more. I bet he's the one burying this, keeping Vernon's tracks clean. Rhonda's radio crackled, an agent's voice cutting through. Detective Avery, we've got something. Tunnel led to a dirt road, tire tracks, fresh. Looks like a pickup, Pine logo. Headed west. Loretta's heart raced. That's him. Vernon's running. We'll get him, Rhonda said, her voice firm. But for now, we're moving you and Malik to Louisville. No arguments. They loaded into an FBI van, the survivors quiet, their faces haunted, some still humming that cursed song under their breath. Malik sat beside Loretta, his hand in hers, his eyes distant but softer, like a crack in Vernon's spell. The drive was silent, the Kentucky hills blurring past, the sky lightening to a cold gray dawn. In Louisville, the trauma center was sterile, its halls buzzing with doctors and agents. Malik was taken for tests physical, psychological, while Loretta waited in a stark room, clutching her notebook, the Polaroid, and the singed ledger. Rhonda stayed with her, her face a mix of exhaustion and resolve. He's gonna be okay, Loretta, Rhonda said, her voice soft. He's got you. That's more than most. Loretta nodded, but her eyes were on the ledger, its pages a map of Vernon's madness. She flipped through, finding a note tucked inside, written in red ink, the choir will rise again. The flame is eternal. Her stomach twisted, remembering Clara's screams, the giggle in the woods, the video's final word, run. Noah limped in, his arm bandaged, his face grim. FBI's hitting 2 sites tonight, one in Tennessee, one in West Virginia. Found another ledger in the tunnel, matches yours. Vernon's been moving kids for decades, picking ones nobody'd miss, runaways, foster kids, black kids from small towns like Jasper. Loretta's voice was low, fierce. Nobody'd miss? I miss my boy every damn day. Noah nodded, his eyes meeting hers. I know. And we're not stopping till we get them all. Sarah entered, her head bandaged, her laptop under her arm. I'm writing the story, she said, her voice defiant. Got a contact at the New York Times. This is bigger than Jasper, bigger than Vernon, people need to know. Loretta's eyes narrowed. You leak this now, Sarah, and Vernon'll bolt. You'll kill our chance to find those other kids. Sarah hesitated, her ambition warring with guilt. I won't publish till you say, but Loretta, this story could force the feds to act, to dig into Brooks, Mayflower, all of it. Fine, Loretta said, her voice cold. But my son's not your headline. You cross that line, and I'm coming for you. Sarah nodded, a faint smirk tugging her lips. Fair enough. Malik returned, his face pale, his borrowed clothes jeans, a gray tee hanging loose. He sat beside Loretta, his hands clasped, knuckles white. They say I'm okay, he said, his voice quiet, uncertain. But I don't feel okay. I keep hearing him, Mama, in my head, singing. Loretta took his hand, her voice soft. That's his poison, baby. We'll get it out, together. She pulled out a small cassette player, its plastic cracked, and pressed play. Malik's 5-year-old voice crackled through, singing, You Are My Sunshine, bright and pure. His eyes widened, a tear falling. I know that, he whispered, his voice breaking. I sang that for you. You did, Loretta said, tears streaming. Every night, you'd make me sing it back. You said it kept the monsters away. Malik's lips trembled, his hands shaking. He said there were no monsters, just fire. But he was the monster, wasn't he? Loretta nodded, pulling him close. Yes, baby. But he's gone, and you're here. But he wasn't gone. Not really. Days turned to weeks, and the FBI raids hit the other camps, rescuing 20 more survivorsmen, women, kids, all black, all stolen, their lives rewritten by Vernon's flame. Some remembered their real names. Others, like Malik, only knew the choir's lies. Kendra, once Grace, was among them, her eyes haunted but fierce, her memories of a mother with rose perfume and a mole on her cheek slowly returning. Her mother was gone, died in 22, but Loretta hugged her like her own, promising to help her rebuild. Malik's recovery was slow, painful. He stayed with Loretta in a small apartment in Atlanta, paid for by the FBI. He slept on top of the covers, the television off, the windows always open, like he needed to see the sky to believe it was real. Loretta brought him old toys, a Spider-Man figure, a dinosaur-shaped birthday candle, leaving them on the nightstand, letting him choose when to touch them. One morning, he did, picking up the candle, his fingers tracing its edges. I remember this, he said, his voice soft, almost afraid. My 5th birthday, you made a cake, right? Loretta's heart leapt, tears pricking her eyes. Yeah, baby. Chocolate, with green frosting, 'cause you love dinosaurs. He nodded, a faint smile breaking through. I see it, Mama. Bits and pieces. It's like waking up from a bad dream. They started small, rebuilding his life. He watched Spider-Man reruns, ate fried catfish and collard greens, laughed for the first time when Loretta played Al Green's Love and Happiness on an old record player. But the nightmares lingered, flames, white eyes, that endless song. Therapy helped, but what he needed most was Loretta, her voice, her touch, anchoring him to the world Vernon had stolen. One crisp October morning, they returned to Jasper, to the field behind the old elementary school, now a community center. The oak tree Malik's guardian still stood, its branches heavy with leaves. He knelt beside it, placing a smooth stone at its base, painted with the names of the 18 kids from the bus, some found, some still lost. I never liked pictures, he said, his voice quiet, holding the Polaroid. But this one, it's proof, Mama, proof you never gave up. Loretta smiled, tears falling. You were always camera shy, baby. But this one, don't let him win. He nodded, setting the stone down. I want to help find the others. The ones still out there, I owe them that. She took his hand, her voice fierce. We will, Malik. Together. That night, Loretta hosted a dinner. Malik, Kendra, a boy named Isaiah who'd started remembering his real last name, Noah, Rhonda, even Sarah, who brought cornbread and a grudging apology. They ate, laughed, cried, the table full of life, of hope. Loretta stood to say grace, but her voice broke, overwhelmed by the faces around her, faces she never thought she'd see together. Thank you, she said, tears falling freely. Just, thank you for coming home. Malik stood, his arm around her shoulder, his voice soft, but strong. You're the reason we made it back, Mama. The press moved on, new tragedies stealing the headlines, but the survivors didn't. They formed a group, the ones who were found, meeting monthly, sometimes in Atlanta, sometimes online. Malik spoke at their first meeting, his voice steady despite the weight. I don't remember everything, he said, looking at Loretta, but I remember the silence, the loneliness, the lie that nobody was coming. She proved them wrong. There was no applause, just quiet nods, a shared understanding. Kendra spoke next, her voice trembling but fierce. I thought my mom was a dream, but she wasn't. She fought, like Loretta. We're here because of them. I am. On the one-year anniversary of the raid, Loretta and Malik returned to the Cumberland County woods, the village now a flattened scar, bulldozed by the feds. Malik planted a sign at the clearing's edge. This is where we were lost, and this is where we were found. Loretta ran her fingers across the lettering, her heart heavy but full. You're my sunshine, she whispered, her voice cracking. Malik squeezed her hand, his smile small, but real. You never took it away. Sue. But as they turned to leave, a faint sound drifted from the trees, a low, warped hum. You are my sunshine, sung by voices too young, too hollow. Loretta froze, her blood icing over, her eyes scanning the dark. Malik's hand tightened, his face pale. He's out there, he whispered, his voice shaking. He's not done. From her pocket, Loretta's phone buzzed, a video from an unknown number. She opened it, her heart stopping. Vernon Hatch stood in a new forest, his white eyes gleaming, surrounded by children, their faces shadowed, singing that cursed song. His voice cut through, calm, triumphant. The choir will rise, Mrs. Fields, the flame is eternal. The screen went black, and a single, childish giggle echoed, followed by a whisper that turned her world to ash. We're waiting.